There's an old saying that goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And let me tell you something, producers of ABC's The Bachelorette, you're not going to fool me again. How dare you? I feel bamboozled, hoodwinked, tricked. After last night's episode, after Chris Harrison talked to Chad, and Chad was walking back in the house, it looked like things were about to get really tense. The preview for tonight's episode saw Evan bleeding, it saw James Taylor bleeding, and all roads looked like they led to Chad. Except when you saw tonight's episode, you realize that, well, Evan pretty much bleeds over anything. If he breaks a nail, he starts bleeding. If he stubs his toe, he starts bleeding. If he turns on the TV and it's not the right show, he starts bleeding. The guy bleeds over anything. And as far as James Taylor is concerned, absolutely, he can carry a great tune. You know what he can't do? Play football. The uncoordinated gentleman found himself tripping and falling, and next thing you know, he was coming up bleeding. And wouldn't you know that Chad wasn't anywhere to be found in either one of those incidences? So yes, ABC Network, you got us. You and your trickery. So let's talk about tonight's episode. Chad, of course, continuing off of last night's, it's a two-parter, all the drama. Chad walks in and tries to make the peace with everybody. Kind of short-lived. He goes to the rose ceremony, and wouldn't you know, just like the last ceremony, he is the last person to get a rose. So he's safe. So now we start this week's dates. So we see Luke go on a nice little one-on-one date with JoJo. But I'll tell you something. I had a hard time focusing on what was going on their date because the camera kept going back, or the scenes kept going back to Chad and the house with the other men. And it was so interesting to me because you wanted to see what was going to happen because all of the focus has been off of JoJo and on to Chad. In fact, they should not call it The Bachelorette. They should call it Chad and The Bachelorette and a bunch of angry dudes, because that's what we've been seeing over the last little while. So, of course, there's a lot of back and forth with Chad and the guys, and it's pretty much carbon copy of what we saw in Monday night's episode, just kind of extended. Anyways, Luke goes on this nice little date, and then the next thing you know, JoJo's like, oh, I got one more surprise, and they go and they see this band. I'll be honest with you, no disrespect, I don't remember what the name of the band was, and I don't really think they expected anybody to because they put the name of the band up there. I mean, if it was a great band, I think we just know. I mean, like, if they walked out and U2 was playing for them, I don't think they'd have to put, oh, by the way, this is U2. They'd just be like, that's Bono. You know what Bono looks like. You know with the edge and his little cap. You know who they are. This group I hadn't heard of, and they were like, oh, it's, you know, this group. And it was kind of funny because I think the audience at this impromptu concert was full of Bachelorette fans. It was just kind of weird because then they put them up on this little stage and then they were there making out. I don't know. It just didn't work for me. Anyways, then we went to a group date. And as I alluded to earlier, the group date was in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. They brought in a couple of the present and past Pittsburgh Steelers, including Ben Roethlisberger, and they had the blue team and the white team playing a football game. Now, this is the segment of The Bachelorette that we've seen in many seasons before of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, where it's what I like to call one of the jumping through hoops exercises. You jump through hoops, and if your team wins, then your group of people get to spend more time with JoJo. And if they don't, they get to go back to the house. Of course, in this time, they get to go back and hang out with Chad. So we've got Jordan, who was basically playing on both sides. Like, he's a quarterback, so he's playing on both sides. And this was great because you know, if you're a man and you want to impress a woman, you want her to see you do what you're great at. So last night, you know, I was talking about James Taylor playing to his strengths with the guitar. So here is Jordan getting to throw the football around. Now, again, it says that he's a professional football player. I don't know. I think practice squad, but I mean, good on him. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. And again, the reason that this guy's, like, you know, doing well is because he's Aaron Rodgers' brother. Even Ben Roethlisberger is like, oh, which one of these guys is Aaron Rodgers' brother? Anyways, I'll get back to that in a second. So anyways, at the end of the date, some of the guys went out with, were able to go out with JoJo, and it was interesting. It was just basically a big makeout fest with her and a couple of the guys, and then Jordan gets the rose on the date. But back at the house, of course, things are brewing with Chad, and Chad's, you know, feeling the walls closing in. Nobody seems to like Chad, and he's threatening this person, he's threatening that person. Anyways, now we've got a 2-on-1 date. We've got Alex and Chad are both going out with JoJo. And then it comes to light, aka Alex tells JoJo, that Chad's been threatening people. And it's kind of interesting. So here's a fun thing. Not fun, but interesting thing. Alex mentions that that Chad threatened Jordan. No, he didn't. Oh, child, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. And wouldn't you know, as soon as JoJo heard that, then she had enough. She gives him a little talking to. She's like, you're not the type of person I want. Turns around. Alex, will you accept this rose? Then we see some guy who looks like he just got out of prison go into the house, grab Chad's suitcase, take it out. All the guys start screaming. And then the episode pretty much ends off with Chad going back to the house looking like he's stalking the guys. Now, it was kind of funny. For those of you who watch The Walking Dead, we've got Negan's group, who before they kill people, they whistle as they're walking through the woods. Do you notice that Chad, as he was going through the woods, was whistling? Like, what is he going to do? Like, take a baseball bat and then we're going to have a fade to black? We don't know who he's going to take out. It was such a direct copy off of The Walking Dead. Like, good on them for doing it, but shame on you, ABC Bachelorette producers and you hoodwinkers, you. I saw right through it. Tonight's episode told me one thing, and I say this with utter confidence. Jordan is going to win this season, and I will tell you why. I felt so before, but after seeing this episode, it solidified. After seeing this episode, she was hearing this stuff about Chad, and she was, not really feeling it, but as soon as she heard that he had threatened Jordan, done. Absolutely done. The second thing is, here's the thing. It's all about publicity, right? It's all about, at the end of this, she's going to be on the cover of People magazine. We're going to have all of this publicity. Can you think of better publicity than Aaron Rodgers, a very good quarterback, playing in a game on a Sunday night, and all the commentators are excited because Green Bay's ahead. Then they go up to the suite, and what's in the suite? Well, there's Aaron Rodgers' brother, Jordan. And who's right beside him? Hey, there's JoJo from The Bachelorette. We've seen it before. Gisele Bündchen, Kardashian. We always see the wags, a.k.a. wives and girlfriends, in the box. And I think that whole pairing, kind of sells a lot of publicity. If that wasn't the case, they wouldn't have advertised this guy as Aaron Rodgers' brother. They would have just said, hey, here's Jordan. He was a guy who used to play football. But he's not. He's Aaron Rodgers' brother. And for that reason alone, I think this man will win this season of The Bachelorette. We'll wait and see. I got some bad news, folks. I got some bad news. We took a hit on the black eye count tonight. Black eye count's down to 1. But the one that's left is the firefighter. I'm told women like firefighters. So hopefully Grant will be able to stick in there a little while longer. But if Grant goes, I don't even know what to say. Anyways, so next week's episode, the producers want us to think Chad's going to do something big. I'm not buying it. You're not getting me again. What I do think, though, is that we've gotten past the crazy part of the show, and now we're down into the meat and potatoes, and we're going to get into the whole, get into some more interesting, dynamics, and actually probably, get back to what the show's supposed to be about, focusing on the relationships that she's developing with people. I thought JoJo was hilarious today. She's like, she says, I decided it's time for us to get out of the house, and I'm not telling you where I'm taking you. Don't you mean you don't want to say where the producers are taking them? Like, I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe JoJo's got an amazing gold card. I just don't think so. I think ABC Network might have had a little something to do with it. Anyways, did you like tonight's episode? Again, I was a little disappointed in it, mainly because I feel that we were set up for these huge expectations, and then when we actually got into the episode, it was just it was a bit disappointing. Anyways, Chad's gone, so we're going to have to find something new to complain about. And also, we lost a brother, so this is just bad on all fronts. So hopefully next week, or 2 weeks, I guess, is going to be better. As always, ladies and gentlemen, CFL_fan on Twitter, Facebook.com/Woody Whittier, and WittyWhittier.com. I appreciate you taking the time to check this out. And you know what? We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and hopefully by then I'll get over the fact that there's only one black eye left. Good night.